Well, I thought it was time for another fountain pen. And really, the comparison I'm doing today is an unfair, peculiar, strange one, but I felt it had to be made. And if you look at these two pens side by side, I'm sure you can see where I'm coming from. Because you don't need to be a genius to see that these two pens resemble each other quite a lot. I'm not pointing any fingers, I'm not judging, I'm just saying these are two very similar pens. Okay, we're talking today about the Asvine P36 and the CONID bulk filler. This happens to be the Kingsize. To give you an idea of size, I will put this Pilot Metropolitan here to give you a little bit of perspective. Okay, I've reviewed the two pens separately, so if you want really in-depth information on either of these pens, or both, you can look at the separate reviews. However, for now, I will give you a quick rundown of the two pens, and I think out of deference, I should probably start with the CONID. CONID, a Belgian manufacturer of pens. You used to just order your pen online from them, and then they would take a bit of time to make them, and it could be a couple of weeks, and then they would send it to you. And now they work through at least one store in Antwerp, I think, to kind of streamline their selling process. So they announce something like, we're going to have 50 king-size bulk fillers, and then they put them on the website there, and then they sell out. The selling point of the CONIDs has always been twofold, I would say. One is they're made in a factory that makes pharmaceutical equipment, so the tolerances are meant to be super tight. Everything is meant to be very, very precisely manufactured or machined. The other thing that's really cool is the filling system. Now that's a little bit hard to show here because the pen is full of ink, and I'm not going to get ink everywhere. But basically, if you've never seen it, again, I show it in some of my videos, but you unscrew this end, then you pull out this bit, so this piston moves up, it screws into that black part. You give that a half twist, and then that mechanism looks something like what you see in the finial here. It locks into place. You push it down, you put in a bottle of ink, you pull it back up, and now this body fills with ink. You have two ink reservoirs. There's primary and secondary. I never know which is which, really, but I mean, I call this primary today and this secondary. This is what goes into the nib. You write, this empties out, as you can see here, and then you need to refill it from that reservoir by opening up this bit at the end here. I'll show you what happens. Turn, 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 turn. Gentle shake. And you see now that reservoir is completely full. I hope I have not just flooded this with ink. I noticed that it flowed just back. Anyway, I'm just going to drain that feed a little bit because that is very, very wet. Now I'm going to spill ink everywhere. Okay, so that's kind of the I don't really want to call it the gimmick, but the unique selling point was that filling mechanism. And now you see other companies that use similar filling mechanisms, but CONID was the one who invented this. Titanium. This is a clear model. They have other models. They have pens that are not clear. They have different shapes and sizes, flat tops and round tops. This is the round top because I like round tops a little bit better than flat tops. It's just personal preference. Number 8 Bach nib. This is double broad, has an ebonite feed. It's really nice. A lot of titanium, which I like, and a very pleasant size. Beautiful everyday writer to me. Very similar in shape and size to a Mont Blanc 149, but with the advantage that it's not a Mont Blanc. Now, 14 karat gold nib. I like it a lot. Very, very pleasant. Downsides. Very expensive. And I don't even remember what I paid for this, but I can tell you that the Asvine P36 goes for $60, and that is pretty much a factor 10 below the price of a CONID. I think that's very reasonable to say. So the CONIDs are very expensive pens, and hard to get. Hard to get. Cool, but hard to get. So what do you do if you do want one, but the waitlist doesn't work for you or you don't want to spend that money, you could buy this Asvine. Now, it doesn't have the snazzy filling system that a Conid does. It's just a piston, but the pistons are kind of cool. Big ink capacity, as you can see. No secondary or primary ink chambers, but it's a solid writer, and it also has the titanium, and it's also clear. So if you really wanted a Conid, but you, for some reason you can't get to it, that is an option, and you have something that's quite like it. Okay, so I think I've covered the parts of the Conid quite extensively. The P36 is a piston-filled pen, so it's a much simpler filling system. You just twist that end, piston moves down, put in a bottle of ink, twist it the other way, piston moves up, sucks up ink, and you can write. And you can see there is sort of a primary and secondary ink chamber, but they are in communication, right? So you don't have to worry about closing off that primary ink chamber with the valve, which you can do with a Conid, which can be helpful if you're flying or that sort of stuff. Can't do that with this pen, but still very nice. This is an hourglass shaped section, which is much like what you find on the Conid. So just to be clear, on the left, Asvine, on the right, Conid. Big difference is the nib size, right? The Conid Kingsize, and this would not be a king size, this Asvine. The Kingsize has a number 8 nib, and the Asvine has a number 6 nib, but that's still quite nice. And it has a nice stub on it, which is really quite neat. Smaller. I'll try to put them side by side, kind of posted, so you can maybe see that difference a bit better. But they're two cool pens. The Conid, the Kingsize, obviously a little bit longer, you can tell. Note that the section is almost the same length, it's just much girthier on the Conid. Okay, maybe the best thing to do is do a little bit of writing and see how they fare that way. I'm just going to close them up so they don't dry out. I'll grab some paper. I'm sorry, I did another quick shootout earlier, so I'm just going to use the same paper. This is a yellowish ink, so I'm sorry about that, but there we are. Conid bulk filler, Kingsize. This is a 14K double broad nib, and the ink is, I should just said it once so I don't have to write it down twice, but it's Lamy Mango, and yes, for once I have the same ink in the two pens for a shootout. It's a miracle. Okay. Beautiful, bold lines because of that double broad nib. It's quite an expressive nib. It's on the softer end of things. I don't flex nibs when they're not flex nibs, but some people do. I love the way it writes. It's just very, very pleasant. I've had that tuned a little bit because I found it was a little bit over polished when I got it, but very pleasant writer. And as you can see, really quite wet. Then we have the Asvine. 10 times, oops, sorry for the noise. 10 times as cheap, which can be really nice. We have the P36. This is a 1.1 millimeter stub, and the ink, I've gone down the path now, is still a Lamy Mango. Okay, let's properly align that. That's the point of a stub nib. It's not scratchy. Microphone may pick that up. It's just, it has no tipping, and it's a stub nib. But it's not scratchy at all. It's actually a very pleasant writer, I find. And this one too, really quite wet. And now the big question. If I could pick either, neither, or both, which one would I pick? Well, folks, the comparison here is not really a fair one. You're talking with one pen that's 10 times, about a pen that's 10 times as expensive as the other pen. But again, looking at the aesthetics, it was hard not to shoot out these two. Yes, shoot out is a verb now, because I say so. Which one would I pick? There's little competition in my mind, I prefer the Conid. It's a bit bigger. It's the original. It's a refined pen. The Asvine is simpler, but they've done a very good job on creating it, and I really like the way it looks. There was a reason I bought this particular Conid. I like the looks of it. I also like that Asvine didn't try to recreate a Conid type filling system, because then it would start to look like a ripoff. It's a piston fill pen. They're very clear about it. It fills with a piston. It's called the P36. I assume P for piston. So that's quite clear. There's no ambiguity. I like that. I like the way they have done that. I still prefer my Conid, and I probably always will. However, it's very important to me that we don't approach fountain pens from this sort of snobby viewpoint of, well, it's more expensive, so it must be better. Not at all. You can have really compelling pens that are not that expensive. That you can purchase this P36 for 60 Canadian dollars. You get a piston fill pen, titanium parts, fun nib. It works well. It's very comfortable. It's super impressive. And if this is what you can afford, you should do so with your head held up high, because there's no shame in this. It's a beautiful pen that works really, really well. So if money is an issue, this is your pick. And is it the same as a Conid? Well, no, because it's not a Conid, but that's the point, isn't it? It looks cool, it writes well. Both are fantastic writers in slightly different ways, but they write very well, and I really like them both. It's just a matter of what do you want to go for. There is a little bit of a difference between buying a Ferrari and buying a Ford. They're both cars. They will both get you where you need to be, but one is a bit flashier than the other. And in my mind, the Conid is flashier. That's not why I got it. I just wanted that filling system and I wanted that pen. But it is a bit flashy. So there you have it. What I will say, for all the tight tolerances of the Conid, the center band came loose. So now it's a fidget spinner. So there is that. That P36 is solid on there. Just saying. Anyway, of the two, which one do you pick? I'm very curious to learn that. So please let me know in the comments. I would appreciate that. I hope that was useful, and I'll gladly see you later. Bye.